So welcome everyone. Good evening, and once again, I really want to thank all the attendees who've joined us today for this session. And before we proceed, I will keep the introduction fairly short and simple, as I would like to introduce our speakers for today, who are data science experts, whose names are Deepak Himmat Singh and Shiv Prasad Yadav. What they will do in this session is deep dive into data science and its careers for future, and give you a better understanding of how how you can upskill and take your career forward with data science, the opportunities that it will present to you in the coming years as well. So without any further delay, I'd like to hand over the session to Deepak and Shiv Prasad Yadav.
Thanks, Sushil. I'll take it from here. Good evening, everyone. First of all, really happy to see you, each one of you joining here. I think taking the first step towards the right direction in your career, which will help you definitely achieve the right outcomes that each one of you are looking at. Some of you might be looking at in terms of higher salaries. Some of you looking transitioning into better roles. Some of you may be looking into changing companies, changing domains, right? So yes, it helps in all the possible ways. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see each one of you joining here and first of all trying to understand what really works and how what are different roles that are available and how each of them can also help you achieve your career trajectory in the right way, right? So, but okay, before I jump on to what are the roles and we talk about each of them, uh, maybe I just want to give you a quick bit of idea. I'm not able to see uh, the profile of each one of you out here, but at least to give you a fair bit of idea, what is data science, right? So I think data today it's very critical for any of the organization to function, and not only function but take correct decisions which can move the business into much more which can give you higher ROI, right? I mean, so in short, if I have to summarize it, what I would say that it helps you get meaningful insights based on which you will take the right decisions, right? And hence the main reason of running a business is to get the best of the ROI, right? So, which is what you do once you have the right insights from the data points. And when I say data, I mean in businesses, right? Today, a lot of data exists, right? Some of you might not even understand the logic of the data point, but what I would say that data are distributed between multiple structured and unstructured forms, but that's where your learning helps. That's when your understanding of the model helps, and you're able to generate those insights and those outcomes from those data points and take the final decisions, right? But to now jumping on to giving you the idea, right? What is this market? What is the size of this market? And I'm sure you'll be amazed by some of the numbers, right? Some of you might be aware of these numbers from the past, but so some of you, I'm sure these numbers will be fairly new. But just to give you an idea, right? So data science is around 55-60 odd billion-dollar market today, right? Only in India. And when I say data science, I not only restrict myself to data science, but what I'm trying to end of the day convey is analytics as a whole, right? Which includes data science, which includes business analytics, which includes machine learning, which includes AI, right? All these finally helps you achieve those outcomes, right? So end of the day, analytics as an industry is almost a $60 billion industry today in the market, right? And looking forward to the rate at which it is growing, right? It is going on to become it'll go on to become a $100 odd billion market by 2025. So it's just 2-3 years from now, and at the end of 2025, what are the predictions that the numbers that talk about? In fact, also that includes data science, right? To do these predictions, we will have close to 10 odd million jobs in the market, right? When I'm talking 10 odd million, it's close to 1 crore jobs in the market. And it clearly shows 1 crore jobs in the market, and we will have a huge demand supply gap here. I mean, I remember going through one of the career websites at one point in time, I think back in September or October, right? That's my personal experience. So I remember seeing some 98 odd thousand openings in only in analytics as an industry, only in India, across multiple domains, across multiple functions, multiple companies, where each of them understands the importance of data science, right? I mean, you just to give you an insight, right, which all domains it's functional, and maybe give an idea, right? You go to healthcare, a doctor can predict with the help of these data points what are the various possible diseases you can get or infections in your body at certain points in time, and accordingly preempt those issues and able to tackle them at an early stage so that you don't reach that position, right? That's one. And maybe for a manufacturing industry, right? To predict what should be the volume of production to make sure that there is no wastage and there is no surplus in production and there is no shortage in production. Maybe you go to an insurance sector, right? It can help you achieve variable installment premiums or the insurance premiums, right? End of the day. So multiple, I mean, any sector that you can look at, e-commerce, finance, I mean, the way people take loans today, right, will change in the next 3 4 years completely. It will move away from something like only a civil score, only for a salary or only a payslip model, to maybe various other domains on what all purchases you make, what kind of things you look at, what is the salary that comes to you, where do you spend major portion of your money, everything, right? It will understand your profile much even better and be able to give you much more better clarity in terms of how much credit facility that this guy can actually get, right? So various domains, right? And like the way I was talking to, maybe if I'm running too quick, but just to come back, right? Like the way I was talking about the demand supply gap, right? Uh, 1 crore odd jobs. But if you look at the data scientists in the market today, right, the median age of these people lie between 7 to 8 years. So somebody who graduated back in 15, 16, 14, 17, right, are the ones coming back and looking at their irrelevancy in the market today in terms of the skills that they've acquired and how can they stay more relevant in the upcoming decade or the next 10, 15 years as well, right? So imagine the kind of people who are doing this is 7 to 8 years of experience today. And for people who are entering into this field or just starting their professional career, they getting into this role will give them a huge ROI, a much better trajectory, much better outcome in terms of their entire career progresses for the next 10 to 15 odd years, right? Because somebody getting this in early stage, competing with someone who's already experienced, will have a huge advantage because but the platform sets you apart, right? Because you will be getting into a stage where it's an early stage of development of this into field. Companies have started hiring people, learning from insights from the data points, right? Now somebody who's with 1 year, 2 years experience are able to match this demand, right? Your career trajectory always already takes a fast track approach, right? So and what people are getting it after 7 8 years of experience, you will be able to get into that zone even faster, right? I mean, maybe to give you an insight, right? If you look at an Indian market, any of the IT profession that you can talk about right today, the salaries are in the range of 1.5x to 2x of your work experience that you have. I'm sure some of you with 3 years of experience today here on this in this webinar, I'm sure will be at what 4.5 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs package. But what you're looking at is go to a much higher ROI, and that's where these multiples of 1x, half 1.5x to 2x will go on to become 3x, 4x for you, as in when you have the right kind of learnings, which is much more relevant and which will stay relevant for the upcoming decade as well, right? So that's where it stands. Each of the domains that you can think of, I mean, any domain that you can think of, any work that you do today, any profile that you are into, any sector you are into, there is a role of data science and there is an importance of this role because it will help you end of the day achieve the right business outcomes. So I mean, everywhere, right? All I mean, now coming on to who are the people who can do this, right? I'm sure Shiv will take you to a lot of these roles into detail, but to just to give you an insight about what are these roles, who are the people who do this, right? I mean, what we have done internally and what when we discuss internally to understand each of the profiles, when we create the courses, when we create the contents, right? What we look at is we profile people into 5 different ways. On each of them, we evaluate them. Now, somebody who's one of them would be, I'll give you the 5 of them in shorter idea, and then Shiv will take you to much in the details. The first one would be somebody who's already into the analytics industry, somebody, let's say, who's already working in a data science field, but his formal education was, let's say, only BTech in computer science, or maybe BTech in IT or BTech in electronics, right? But now really wants to upskill and get the right understanding in terms of each of the tools and the programming languages that we use in data science so that you get your outcome. That's one. The second one would be you are into coding profiles. You're working in one of these IT companies like TCS, like Wipro, like any one of them, right? So, but you're into software engineer profile and you really want to, okay, I'm done with software engineering. I've developed enough full stack pages. I've done enough backend developments, but I really want to get into a data science role. So that's one of you that we categorize and look into it. The third would be somebody who's into these IT companies, but are into profiles of tester, right? Maybe software tester or any other profiles, right? But really want to get into these very technical data science domains. The fourth one would be maybe somebody like you are already in sales, but have a have a technical education, you've done BTech, you've done BSc, but now and have a fair bit of understanding how mathematics function, how statistics function, how do you write initial bits of code, or maybe you have an algorithm thinking approach, right? Now that's another set of people that we look at, right? And the fifth one would be somebody like chartered accountant, somebody like into an arts field, somebody from a commerce field, right? Wants to get into one of these roles, right? So we categorize them into these 5 ways, and then finally be able to tell you, okay, you belong to this profile, and this is what you need to do. These are the courses or the skills that you need to acquire to reach one of these outcomes, right? You can be one of the data scientists, you can be data analyst, you can be a business analyst, you can be any of these profiles, right? So which is where we will be able to help you map each of these profiles to your current relevant profile, so that you can use your current existing experience along with the new learnings that you will acquire over a period of next 5 6 1 year, right, period, months to 1 year period, to finally reach out one of these outcomes. So this is where it stands. But this is what I want to give you an idea for right now. Uh, the next half of this session, what we want to do is to give you an idea is, she will take you through each of these roles one by one to give you a clarity. And during this session, if you have questions, I want each one of you to avoid using chat, but use the question section, so that we'll be able to track and help you with each of them. And the third part of the session, which is once Shiv is done with what he wants to share with each one of you, we'll jump on to question answer session, where we'll take up your questions that you post here, and we'll be able to give you absolute clarity on how you can look at it. But before I hand it over to Shiv, I think one thing that I want to tell each one of you out here is, it is not difficult. And I'm telling you this part specifically the start itself, because we've learned this from multiple sessions that we've done in the past. We've spoken to a lot of learners in the past. It is absolutely not difficult. What you need to do is to have a basic mathematical and statistical understanding. On top of it, all we need is to ensure that you have a complete dedicated focus towards doing this. We will help you achieve what you want to achieve. I think with that, I hand it over to Shiv, and he will take you through the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Deepak. So, good evening, everyone. Let's start with today's agenda. That is, what are different roles in data science? Okay. So, if you see on a broader classification, let's get an idea what we're going to cover in today's let's say journey. That is, first, the buzz around industry 4.0. I guess Deepak sir has already covered that. What are the different roles we can expect in data science as a domain? Then obviously, like, as there are three departments in data science, so what is business analytics, what is data analytics, and what are engineering roles in data science? So we'll just break down each one of them further. So the buzz is very clear because it's the fourth industrial revolution. So anything which is let's say surrounded with automation, IoT, or big data, data science, cloud computing, machine learning, artificial intelligence, data engineering, all of these are the components of industry 4.0, the era of smart factory, and which is going to be here for the next 40-50 odd years bare minimum. So we are at right now at the positive curve, and we will be on the positive curve for the next 20-30 odd years, 40 odd years bare minimum. And after that, we might hit, let's say, a slowdown or a saturation, and then eventually that will be the decline of the industry. But for the next 30-40 odd years, anyone who is, let's say, a fresher or a early career professional or a senior career professional or a mid career professional can easily transition into industry 4.0 segment, and easily can sustain, grow, and let's say enjoy all the perks. Now, if we look at data science department of any organization, so primarily it has three departments. One is, first is your business analytics, the third is your core data analytics, and the third is your engineering team. So here we have to, let's say, break down each and every department one by one. First, let's talk about business analytics as a domain, what exactly they do. So predominantly business analytics people's job is basically to identify the business problem, ask the data science team to perform all the analysis, and once the analysis is done, drive insights from it, and sit with the respective key stakeholders to design the actionable plan. We'll take an example at the later stage to understand that. Okay, so primarily a business analytics professional is not the person who has to get into complex analysis aspect or complex programming aspect. He should know how to convert a business problem into a data problem, and once the problem conversion is done, then ask the core data science team to perform all the analysis. And once he has all the reports, he just has to drive intelligence from it, and basis that sit with the respective management stakeholders to design the actionable plan, or at least recommend the actionable plan as well. Okay, now let's take any functional management area and understand how a business analytics person will fit in. Let's take an area like marketing, where a business analytics professional will be able to identify. Let's take an organization like Flipkart or Mintra, or any of these, let's say, consumer facing internet businesses which largely rely on marketing channels, and their spend is very huge. They spend close to somewhere on, let's say, 50 lakhs to 1 crore in a day. That's the kind of spend we are talking about. So if, let's suppose, once all of these social media channels are going to send you all the marketing reports basis the spend, so a business analytics professional should be able to identify that which campaign is performing very well for them, which is average, which is above average, which campaign can be further fine tuned. So basis the data, he will be able to suggest the marketing department that which channel is positive for them, which one is just net neutral, and which campaign is actually just a cash burn for them. Okay, so basis this, marketing team will be able to take a call, okay, which campaign they should be further investing more money, and which campaign they should scale it down. Okay, now let's take the second functional area of business analytics, that is human resource. So if we take an organization like TCS or Accenture or Cognizant, so these kind of organizations have lakhs and lakhs of employees. So when they are sourcing candidates, so they have to rely on multiple channels. That includes your job listing platforms, college campus placements, agency, and third party hiring, referral hiring, so on and so forth. So they have to rely on multiple channels to recruit, let's say, candidates. So which channel is giving me a better ROI, which channel is basically helping me, let's say, which channel is giving me the lowest attrition, and so on and so forth. Again, a business analytics person can come into the picture, look at the data and trends from last 4-5 years, and can actually help the HR team to make a call on that. Third, which is very important, that is sales department. Let's take an organization which is largely a sales driven organization, field sales or an inside sales or a tele sales. So again, basis the conversion data, basis the calling data, basis the marketing and lead data, the business analytics person will be able to actually drive insights, and again will be able to help the sales, let's say, head of the respective organization to take more informed decision. Same goes with finance. If you see, unlike earlier, right now, all of the major transactions happens through digital medium, be it digital wallets, be it UPI, be it, let's say, net banking, RTGS, NEFT. All of these transactions are now being recorded. So as they are able to be, let's say, as they are being recorded, we again are able to generate a huge amount of data, which we can automate and predict, let's say, a lot of things basis just looking at the data. So again, a business analytics person can just look at the financial data of any organization and can actually decide whether that company is should be given a corporate loan or not. Same goes applies to a retail customer. Should a learner, should a, let's say, customer actually be given a, let's say, retail loan or not, personal loan, car loan, home loan. All of these, let's say, basic decision making, a business analytics person can just look at the data and actually help the management person to take a call. Supply chain, again, basis, let's say, an example for a platform like Nestle or a platform like Amazon, this is the sales forecasting. They can actually plan their, let's say, supply chain and inventory. They can actually develop routing algorithms and optimize the, let's say, fuel spend, which is, let's say, happening across their, let's say, entire supply chain ecosystem. So basically, any functional area you see in, you can say, any organization, every functional area, a business analytics person can go and actually help them as a consultant. So if you remember, there is a very solid term in, let's say, management domain, that is management consultants. So in a similar way, business analytics people are also a consultant. The only difference is a business analytics person gives you a solution which are more, let's say, data driven. They are able to make decisions purely from the basis data. Okay, now let's move on to the another aspect, that how a business analytics career transition process will work out. Now you see all the functional area, that is marketing, human resource, sales, finance and supply chain, anyone and everyone who is working in these departments, be it a marketing manager, human resource manager, sales associate or a manager, business development manager, finance manager, risk manager, supply chain and operations manager, all of these people can learn analytics and they can laterally move into a business analytics profile. So let's see a career trajectory of how people will transition. Let's take sales as an example, that business development manager. Now, if he learns analytics, business analytics aspects, so he will be, let's say, able to perform his job more efficiently. So he can become a better senior manager compared to other managers in his own organization, and he can actually move for better, let's say, suited opportunities as well, because he has an additional skill set. Along with the domain expertise of sales, he also has business analytics skills, which will actually help an organization to take a data driven approach. On the contrary, he already has a business domain expertise. If he wants to move out from sales, laterally he can move as a business analytics manager and help the sales for, as a functional area for any organization, sales analytics basically. So basically helping organizations from the sales front, helping them to go for a data driven approach. So these are the two alternate career paths for anyone who's coming from non-tech, non-IT and non-data background. So if you think that you are a person who's working into operations, management, supply chain, marketing, sales, and any of the investment banking, any of these profiles, any of these profiles, you can very well learn this skill and apply the same principle in your own existing domain slash company slash industry. Now moving on to data analytics, it is basically the second department of data science, where predominantly all the, let's say, analysis part, statistical analysis or let's say analysis which we carry out in Python, all of these analysis is something which will be carried out using Python and R. So this department is predominantly the one who performs all the analysis and forwards it to the business analytics and the engineering team. They also focus on basic machine learning model building. Now let's take a typical example. Now in terms of skills, what are skills required to become a data analytics? You are supposed to know Python, you're supposed to know R, you're supposed to know SQL, because you are going to interact with data which is kept on server. Okay, so database query language is something which is essential for you. Python and R, because all the analysis will be performed using these two programming languages. Okay, so these are like bare minimum requirement to be into data analytics as a domain. Now let's look at the career path, generally how it will work for data analytics. Again, let's take an example, software developer, a guy who's already, let's say, working as a software developer. The career options he has is continue as a software developer, transition as a senior software developer, which will be conventional application development profile. And the another career path for him is that rather than being a software developer, he can learn Python, R and SQL, and he can get into a profile where programming is one of the aspect of his job. Along with that, he is able to create interactive dashboards, he is able to perform all the analysis, and he is able to use all the BI tools, business intelligence tools like Microsoft Power BI, Tableau, Oracle, so on and so forth. So this is an alternate career option. So this role also requires let's say programming, but it is not extensive. Business analytics is a profile where barely any programming skill is required. If you know it, it is good. If you don't know it, predominantly you are being hired for, let's say, visualization skills, business problem solving skills. Now let's talk about the last department, that is engineering department. It is very well clear for people who are already coming from the programming background and wants to stay into programming background, and they want to transition into programming, let's say, roles in data science. So if you ever come across roles like big data engineering, machine learning engineering, AI engineers or cloud engineers, big data engineers, all of these people are the ones who work in the engineering department of data science. Big data guy who basically works on creating the data infrastructure where you will be able to save and, let's say, keep data in the scalable format so that everyone in the organization will be able to access that data. ML engineers are basically the ones who are going to develop a machine learning model so that any redundant or repetitive process is something which can be automated using basic ML models. AI engineers are the ones who are working towards building an AI model for all the large scale, let's say, data set which we are able to gather in the organization. Cloud, obviously, majority of these kind of, let's say, data in this time are kept on Oracle, let's say cloud, or Google Cloud, or AWS. So cloud engineers are the ones who are going to help them with the interface and the deployment. Now, what kind of transitions which we can expect in this particular spectrum? So a software engineer will be transitioning as a machine learning engineer, or a senior software engineer again into machine learning engineer. A tech lead can transition as a software engineer, machine learning. A software architect will remain a software architect, but now can take ML AI integration projects as well, and so on and so forth. A solution architect again will transition as a solution architect ML. Subject matter expert will remain a subject matter expert. Technical expert will remain a technical expert. Now, let's take an example so that we can easily understand. Let's take Swiggy as one of the food ordering apps which you use on a daily basis, or let's say Amazon.com, e-commerce shopping platform which you use on a day-to-day basis. Let's assume hypothetically that I am a person who is working with Amazon from last 10 years, and I was working as a principal engineer or a principal full stack developer. Now, I have 10 plus years of domain expertise. I have been working on their product from a very long time. So I have seen the entire product development and evolution in the last 10 years. I know how the system is interlinked and, let's say, created right from, let's say, the user side to the client side to the server side. Every side is something which I'm able to understand. Now, let's suppose with my conventional job of application development of that Amazon.com, if I'm able to build a ML recommendation system, let's say for product recommendation system, and integrate that into Amazon's website, or for that matter, if I'm able to design a dynamic pricing ML model and I'm able to integrate that in, let's say, Amazon's website, if I'm able to let's say implement a time series model in Amazon's website, so integrate. So all of these integration projects are something I will be able to take up if I have machine learning, AI, and big data skills. So a software engineer or a programming profile will stay into the programming profile. ML AI will be an added skills to his profile, which he can, let's say, work on a day-to-day basis. We'll understand that in the next slide. Now, coming back to the most important question, that who can transition into data science? Because this is a very big question for people who are, let's say, looking to transition or looking to upskill, or they are planning to enroll for any course. So they're at least thinking about looking for data science as a career option. So there are 5 categories of people who can transition into data science. First is people who are already working in analytics role. Can be any functional area which we discussed. Can be business analytics, can be your core data analytics, can be any areas of machine learning, or can be a simple Python expert or a Python developer as well. Okay, so any person who's already having an analytics, let's say, exposure in his or her current job or previous job, so that person can very well transition into data science, can get into, let's say, more senior roles. Anyone who's working into programming roles in IT industry, which we have recently seen, software engineers, senior software engineers, tech lead, software architects, solution architects, subject matter experts, consultants, technical experts, practice managers, practice head, all of these programming profiles in IT industry can do the program and stay in their own role, but ML and AI will be an added, let's say, skills which they can, let's say, look for working upon. Third is people who are working in IT industry, but they are into non-programming profiles. Non-programming as in software testers, business analysts, scrum masters, project managers, and so on and so forth. Any person who's working in, let's say, IT industry, but he's into a non-programming profile, again can take up data science and can transition into data analytics or business analytics roles. Fourth category is people who come from non-tech, non-IT profiles, but they have a technical educations like B.Tech in mechanical, civil, electronics, computer science, or BCA or BSc IT. These kind of graduates, they have a, let's say, technical education, but they are into non-technical profiles. They can be in, let's say, sales, marketing, or can be in operations, supply chain, any of these profiles. Now, those people can also actually learn analytics, and they can very well transition into data science. Okay, and the last category is people who have non-tech and non let's say IT profiles, and they have a non-technical education as well. Let's take an example that I did my BBA, then after that I did my MBA, and then I have been working into a marketing profile from last 5 years. Now my education was also, let's say, management, and my work experience was also core management. So I can also transition into your data science domain. I will be transitioning to marketing analytics kind of a profile. So this is how transition happens. So generally people, especially the ones who are coming from non-tech, non-IT and non-data profiles, they have a question that whether we will be able to get a transition or not. Yes, you can very well get into it. The only thing is that anyone who's coming from non-tech and non-IT cannot directly jump to a core programming roles like machine learning. So if they want to transition into machine learning, they can transition into data analytics or business analytics roles, and then very well transition from there further into machine learning profiles. So you have to take a two-step approach if you're coming from a non-tech, non-data background, because it's a heavy programming role. So there will be a bit of learning curve for you, at least in the initial days, at the initial stage. So yeah, pretty much from my side. So Deepak sir, we are open to questions. We can take them one by one.
There's something that's on my mind that I want to ask you. Let's say, for example, Shiv covered a point of an individual who is from a non-tech background, who maybe wants to pursue a career in data science, right? So, could you maybe specify, the timeline of how long would it take? Like Shiv, as you rightly mentioned, let's say if you've completed your bachelor's in BCom and then maybe MBA after that. You worked in marketing for about 5 odd years, and after that you want to take up data science. So what are the steps involved in it? What is it? What does the timeline look like? What are the opportunities? I'm sure people from the tech background might already know this, but for the non-tech audience, if you can just shed a little bit of light on what does the process look like and how long would it take? Either one of you.
That's a great question. Let me represent my screen so that I can explain this better. So is my screen visible, Sushil?
Yeah, I think it's visible, Shiv. It's good to go.
Okay, let's take an example. That first let's cover that what are the skills required to transition into business analytics profile. So primarily there are four skills. First is you should be knowing. Let's say you should have a great and deep understanding about the domain in which you want to transition as a business analytics associate, manager, or consultant. Okay, let's take my own example that I have total 10 years of experience in the industry, but my predominant experience come from now, edtech is a favorable industry where I can transition into business analytics profile because I have a extensive domain expertise of that particular domain. So first is your domain expertise, okay, domain and business industry expertise. Second comes your let's say understanding of business analytics frameworks. So there are a lot of predefined business analytics frameworks which you will be learning in the program as well. So that is something which remains unchanged even if you change your industry or you change the business problem. Let's take an example of time series analysis. So time series model will remain same for inventory forecasting, sales forecasting, attrition forecasting, any, let's say for forward it will be forecasting, for backward it will be root cause. So in any case I will be able to use this model anywhere. So if I am into a sales profile, I can actually design a time series model where I am actually able to predict the sales. So the second important skills you require is business analytics framework understanding, exploratory data analysis, then time series analysis, then your market basket analysis. So there are a lot of standard analysis frameworks which you should be knowing. Third is, as I told you, that your primary job is to convert a data problem into a business problem into a data problem, which you will be able to do it as you have the domain expertise. But once you have, let's say, drawn insights from those, let's say, analysis, you have to present that to respective management key stakeholders. So in that case, you are supposed to know, let's say, great deal about visualization tools like Tableau and Power BI. Okay, because these are web-based visualization tools which we are going to use on a day-to-day basis if you are into business analytics profile. So understanding about Tableau and Power BI in depth is something the third skill which will be required. So if you ask me in a nutshell, and yeah, on top of it, if you know Python, R, and SQL, so that will be a cherry on cake. But even if you don't know, for transition to business analytics profile, these are not the you can say first set of primary skills any organization are going to like. If you have it, it is good to have. So four skills, if you draw, let's say, conclude. First is business and domain expertise. Second is your business analytics framework understanding. Third is your let's say visualization let's say skills, and fourth is Python, R, and SQL. And just to add, if anyone is confused about the fact that whether I will be able to learn programming or not, the one of the biggest reason why Python is used in industry today, it is because it is the most simplest language on this planet to learn. So if anyone who's coming from a non-programming background, non-tech, let's say technical education, any of these kind of things, it will take him 1.5 to 2 months maximum to understand the nuances of Python which are required for data science. Because we don't have to become a software developer, we are supposed to just know the aspect of Python which is used for data science. That's it.
Got it.
Maybe just
Okay.
to add here, I mean, any programs that you start, right? Any of the programs that you look at, right? The initial portion of all such programs will be making sure that the initial part of the coding or the Python is being taught so that everybody gets comfortable before you jump onto rest of the tools as well. So that's giving them the comfort that anyone and everyone needs at multiple interventions. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So we do have a question, and this person's asking. So I have recently transitioned into data science field with 2 years of experience in civil engineering. My colleagues from postgrad are getting senior data scientist roles due to prior analytics experience, whereas I will be getting scientist roles. Any alternative paths which I can explore? I'll read out
Uh,
the question again. So this person's asked, he or she has recently transitioned into the data science field with 2 years of experience from civil engineering. This person's colleagues from postgrad are getting senior data scientist roles due to their prior analytics experience, whereas the person asking the question will be getting data scientist roles as well, but any alternative paths which I can explore.
is it alternative paths in data science or like in any other domain? Yeah, we are just the context I'm trying to understand, Sushil.
Um, well, actually,
Okay, let's assume we're talking
that's all
about
a good.
data science as a domain only. Let's assume that we're talking about data science as a domain. So, see, first of all, if you're able to add a PG or a master's degree onto your profile, that is something which will be really helpful in terms of transition. Because if you see the master's degree program or PG programs which we have at upGrad, so these are outcome driven PG and master's degree program. What exactly an outcome driven degree means? It's something that you don't have to, let's say, go for a theoretical assessment, or it's not a academic conventional college campus degree programs. Here you will be basically learning concepts from let's say industry standpoint and from the academic standpoint, and you're going to work on real time industry projects, assignments, case studies, simulations, participating in hackathon competitions, and so on and so forth. So you not just are able to learn things from an academic standpoint, but also you are able to demonstrate that skill via these assignments, projects, and coding competitions. So if you are able to demonstrate that, eventually you can also transition into senior profiles in data science. I myself have seen people who are, let's say, having 1.5 2 years of experience. They're directly transitioning into data scientist, senior data scientist profile. We have people who are working as senior data scientists and they are just 26 27 years old, and they just started their career 3 4 years back. So this is not, you can say, very uncommon. You will find people who are able to do that. But one common thing which you should see over here is that adding a PG or master's is something which will definitely give you that extra edge in the market.
All right, that sounds great. There's Gayatri who has a question. Gayatri, if you can unmute yourself and maybe ask the question, that'll be great. Or just use the chat box or the questions tab where you can put it down and we'll pick it up.
Hi Deepak and hi Pratap. This is Gayatri. I have 6 years of experience in quality assurance. I worked across multiple domains and different roles. So I have completed my PG diploma with NLP specialization. But when I applied for multiple jobs, I have a break of 6 years as well because I was out of India. So my break has become a barrier now, and as well as currently I'm not working. So I get many calls like I'm shortlisted, but again they don't call back once after they come to know I have a break of 6 years and I don't have relevant experience in data science. So how to overcome these barriers? Because uh, I don't know how to cope up with this now industry standards. So they
Okay.
want everyone, they want a relevant experience of at least 2 to 4 years.
Okay, fair enough. So, see, first of all, if you ask me that how you should be going about the placement part, or let's say looking out for opportunities, first and the foremost thing that you have to be on the forefront. First thing you have to do is you have to constantly add. So there's a thumb rule which we say, even let's say we when we conduct, let's say how to, let's say, shortlist companies for yourself, or look for scout for good set of opportunities. So what we do is we always ask learners to add one HR recruiter in your profile every single day. Network, 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 network. That's the only way to go about it. Because the most difficult part in a job is to secure a job, let's say, interview opportunity. Rest, if you have the interview opportunity, you still will be able to demonstrate your skill, and you eventually will be able to get through the interview. So in your case, what I would suggest is just, let's say, don't feel that your experience gap is something which will not help you secure an opportunity. It's just that some companies in the market have this, you can say, age old sentiment that anyone who has a career gap is not a suitable candidate. But there are a lot of companies who have actually overcome this thought process, and they actually feel a person who is coming back in the industry has more intent towards working seriously. So just keep on applying for other companies. But to add more to it, also start building your own brand by participating actively in Kaggle competitions, and also, let's say, building your brand on platforms like Medium, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. So be super active, super, let's say, super aggressive on, let's say, reaching out to people, commenting on people's posts, HR recruiters, and so on and so forth. So in your case, a hustle might be let's say, for a little more longer period, but yeah, eventually you should be able to get a job. Your career, let's say, pause previous one is not going to hamper that thing as of now.
Okay, thank you, Pratap. Thank you.
Excellent. Gayatri, I hope we were able to answer your question. Anyone else from the audience? I can see there's Kushal, there's Rahul, there's Venkat. If you have any questions, please feel free to either drop it down on the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and raise your query.
I think what we can also do, Sushil, here is maybe we can share our email IDs. If
Sure.
people have queries, they can just post it so that maybe if the right question is not coming to the mind right now, maybe they can ask questions on those emails, and we'll be happy to answer as and when we
Sounds
get.
good. Absolutely sounds good. Deepak, will it be possible for you to put it down
I'm,
in the chat so that yours and Shiv's email ID can be picked up by the audience?
I'm doing that.
Sure. Guys, if you have any questions, you can easily reach out to either Deepak or Shiv. There's one more question from, so there's one question from Venkat.
Sushil, just a question here. I'm getting an option to organizers and panelists only, and there is no option to send it to attendees.
Are you able to access the chat? Yeah, I guess that should be fine. I just received the email IDs out here.
You would have received because you are in the panelist.
Yeah,
I'm sure if other.
I'll put it down and I'll share it with the audience as well. However, so Deepak and Shiv, there's one question from Venkat. He says, can you discuss on product management profile and how to reach there?
uh, is the question that how can someone transition into product roles, or how can someone transition into product roles in data science?
Okay,
When
so
you can
the
explain this.
initial question was, so I've recently, yeah, just give me 1 second. Venkat, would you like to clarify a little bit, or maybe simplify the question? Because it's my bad, actually. The previous question from the civil engineering background was by Venkat. So I believe we've answered that. And part B of the question is, can you discuss on product management profile and how to reach there?
Okay. So I'm assuming that you're looking for a transition to product management profile
Perhaps.
and how you think you can do that. First of all, transitioning to product management profile is again not difficult. Just like I said that there are non let's say technical roles in data science and technical roles in data science, just like that even in product there are non-technical roles and technical roles. So anyone who wants to stay into the technical side will be generally people who are into core product let's say development, which is also you can say 0 to 1 development of the product, which we call it. You'll find people like software developers, software engineers, testers, and business analysts transition into those kind of roles, where they start as transition as a product owner and then product manager and so on and so forth. Then there are people from management side who will transition into management, let's say you can say roles of, or you can say non-technical roles of product management, roles like product marketing manager, product growth manager, business product manager, data product manager, design product manager, so on and so forth. So there are totally 5 kinds of profiles in product in which you can transition: your technical product management, business product management, growth product management, data product management, and design product management. So anyone who's coming from non-tech like civil engineering, doesn't come from the core programming side, they can transition to growth, business, and design product management. So that I believe can should answer the question.
Shiv, I actually
Sushil.
had one question. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just a very basic question of sorts. So, for the audience who's from the non-tech background, can you, from your experience, can you share what's the timeline for that person to sort of grow into the role from the time you take up a course and till the time you're actually established in the role at least a little bit? Is there an idea that you can lay on the timeline just for the audience?
Ask me best case scenario 3 months, average case scenario 6 to 8 months, and you can say normal case scenario 6 months to year or so. 6 months to year or so. That is a typical, you can say, industry standard time required to transition from your current role into new role. So the transition period, which we call it in the industry today, that stands at
Hmm.
6 months to year or so. There is no overnight success or within few hours, few weeks, or few minutes you can learn any skill and outcome transition. It will take its own sweet time. It should be
Correct.
like that. So 6 months or year or so should be the answer. Be it product management transition or be it data science, business analytics, machine learning. So this is something which is bare minimum required. In case of data science, in order to become a qualified analytics professional, you have to go through 500 hours plus industrial training. So even if you see the course, which is for 1.5 years, 2 years, general let's say duration at upgrad. So such basically programs are making sure ensuring all the skills are imparted very well, not just from the academic standpoint, but also from let's say practical hands-on experience standpoint. So that's the typical timeline: 6 months, bare minimum 2 years or so.
Maybe I mean
So,
what I maybe a parting statement I want to keep here is
hmm,
what I suggest each one of them to do is that why don't they uh, go and see the syllabus portion once and understand
hmm,
what exactly we cover each of the portions, understand how comfortable are they with each of them, what are the topics that they need to go through, and
right,
they can come up with what are the exact things required to
right.
them and what are the prerequisites. So I think they might have questions ready if they do slight bit of homework there and go back and check a couple
Right.
of the understand how we teach and what we teach. So accordingly, that should help everyone. Yeah.
Right. Excellent. With this, I would like to thank both Deepak, you and Shiv for taking the time out. Really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your insights. I know that this is just the first time that we've done it for our audience here, but I would also like to encourage our audience to please stay tuned to the upcoming webinars that we'll have on data science in the coming weeks as well. And we will be sharing more insights about the topic, deep diving into a couple of things that will be at a slightly higher scale of sorts. And a great chance to interact with our speakers while they're live and even offline. Yeah. For now, once again, I would like to thank everyone who's been a part of our session today. I would like to thank the speakers as well. Uh, Quick reminder, if you have any questions, please pick up the email IDs and feel free to share your thoughts or your challenges with our speakers, and I'm sure that they will get back to you. Also, stay tuned to our webpage and to our YouTube page as well, where you will find a recording of this session that should be able to help you in the future. Once again, I hope that this session was insightful, and we really look forward to seeing you during our next session. So thank you, everyone. I wish you all have a good night and a good evening.